Sewing with Mrs. Ng and Teddy. And this is the fleece hat we're gonna be making. It's a beanie hat. Even Teddy likes it. Good job, Teddy.
Go.
All right, so the measurement on this one is 13 height and 14 width. And what you want is the stretch to go on this part because that's where our head is going to be, on the bottom, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna line up your pattern that I cut for you all the way to the bottom, and you're going to pin it. Now I'm making this for you because I'm hoping that some of you might choose to make these as gifts or keep practicing your skills if you have sewing machines at home, because it's really quite easy to make a fleece hat. All right, and then make sure the tip of it's bright. And then you do want to, I forgot to tell you, that you want to line up the lines. So make sure that the lines match up on the top and the bottom, and the good sides are inside. Then you're just going to cut around it. I'll just show you with one side even. You're gonna cut around it, so simple. I sometimes will lift it just to make sure this cuts are smooth. And then at the very end, you want to open this one up because that bottom part needs to be open. So do that for both of them, and then you are able to take out the pins, and I'll show you the next step.
Go.
All right, so now we want to just make sure all four pieces are lined up, and what's going to happen is you want the good sides to be together, and they are, because there's a lighter side and a good side. So what I want you to do is you'll see that the pattern even had a sharper side. So this is more of a right angle than the curved part here. We are going to pin the side that has a curve. Really, in the end, doesn't matter so much, but it's just better to do it this way, I found. So just pin them all the way through. And the same thing on this side. And then we're just gonna go to the machine and sew just the side. All right. All right, and ideally you would have the same color thread, but I'm just doing it because I ran out. I'm gonna put it on the 10 line again. That is equivalent to the, I think it's the 3/8. So we're gonna put it over here at the tip, line it up, and then start to sew. Back stitch, sew. And then I'm going to continue going on that curve where the 10 is lined up. The edge of the material is on the 10. And you're just gonna go all the way down to the end. And if you have a much smaller hat, you could sew on the 15. It's just gonna make the hat smaller. But make sure you ask me for permission if you do that, want to do that. Take out the pins when you get to it, line up the fabric so it's even, come to the end and backstitch. Do that on both of the panels, this one too. Okay, so now I have both of mine sewn, and now what I'm gonna do is open it up. You can tell that's brighter, that's the good side. And this, and now you're starting to see that it's forming a hat. This is the most important part now. You line up the seams. This is where you sewed the opening. You have to line them up perfectly. And then you're going to put a pin there between all of those materials. Then you're just gonna continue to guide this is the guide, is the edge of the hat, all the way around the side till you get to the end on both sides. So keep pinning, making sure the fabric is even, not like this. You want to bring it up and pin it together so that it's even all the way down. And then this side as well. You're going to match the fabric, pin, pin, keep going all the way down. And then if you see that it's a little bit uneven like that, just snip that part off. It's not a big deal. All right, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna sew all the way. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And then when you get to this part, we're gonna open it up and then go all the way down and back stitch here. I'll show you the beginning. Make sure the threads are where they should be. Line it up on the 10. I'd rather it be a little big, but if you want it to be snug, then you can do it on the 15. I want it to fit you. Fit your head. Take it out, and you can see that what I'm doing is I'm always lining it up on that 10 line on the edge of the fabric. That is your guide. I'm just gonna go over the top part. It's so fast. You could really make a hat in less than 15 minutes once you know how to do it. Now, it's coming a little bit uneven, so I'm gonna just undo the pin and kind of push it over. And then we're gonna do a little bit of a curve. That's why I had you guys practice the paper curve on the paper sewing. It's hard to see that you're still on the 10, but we are. This is what I was talking about. You have to open up that seam and make sure it's open on both sides, and then you're gonna have to sew over it. You're gonna hear the machine is gonna struggle. You hear how it did that? That's okay. And then I have to get that pin out. You might have to raise your presser foot to get it out. And it's gonna be we're almost done. Take it out. Of course, you're gonna go at the slower speed if you don't feel comfortable doing it, especially when you're doing the curve. You should not increase the speed because you're just beginners. All the way to the end and back stitch. I always like to come back forward. All right. Okay, so now you try it on. I have it on the reverse side. And what you're gonna do is decide how much you want it. Do you want it to be over your ears like that? Fold it the way you want it to be, because after you take it off, you're going to pin it this way if you have chosen to have the hat that is without the cuff at the bottom. So if you want it to just be straight like this one, instead of having the cuff, which is the flip. All right, you would just pin it all the way around, open up the seam, and then make sure you use your ruler to kind of gauge how much it is. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, all the way around. And then I'm not gonna show you with this because I need to show the cuff. But what you're gonna do, open up the seam. When I say open up the seam, I mean open it up like that, flatten it out, all the way around. And then what you would do is go over to your machine. I'm just gonna show you, I'm just not gonna do it. You would put it under here, under the presser foot, and then you would just sew all the way around. Sew, backstitch, sew. I always like to start on the seam and then go all the way around till the end and backstitch. Now I'm gonna show you the cuff way. Okay, so what you're gonna do now if you want a cuff just means that it's more like this instead of down, is you're going to pin it. I did it actually 2.5, but you're welcome to try it on, knowing that after we put it on, we're going to turn it another time. I'll explain to you that in a minute. So this part of the machine should come off because we're gonna do the cuff part. And you always wanna line up this part. I pinned it here, I pinned it here. Everything has to be opened. You can just choose any of them to go on. And we're gonna start to sew. Back stitch. So, always leaving the left, you're sewing on the left with the left of the presser foot as your guide, because I already measured that it was right. It was 2.5 because of I tried it on. And it's gonna make a little bit different noise when we go over the thicker part of the material. go over the thicker part again. Listen to the machine. It's like a little struggle a bit, but then it goes. I'm going to keep it as close as I can to the left of the edge of the presser foot. And your hope is that at the end of it, it lines up to the stitching that you did before. We're coming around the bend. There's a pin. Sometimes you have to raise the presser foot to get it out. And mine looks like it's a bit off, but it will work fine. Now it's back together. All right, and a back stitch. Okay. All right, in order to finish it up, we just sewed that. And now you're going to flip it. If you wanted the cuff style. This is going to be a little tricky because I think what we might have to do is just pin it at this. We might have to end up, just because I can feel that it's so thick, that we're just going to have to do a few hand stitches. I'm going to try it with the machine, but we'll see if it actually works. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm just lining it up on this part because we're not sewing all the way around. I'm just sewing at the connection of the 4 panels. So I'm going to try it. And I'm not going to go over that. I'm just going to try to go right on the... See how it's almost impossible to get it through? Yeah, it's might jam, but we'll try it. Just like a quick stitch and a back stitch. And then pull it out. You could do this with hand sewing, or you could do it. All you're going to do is do it just like I'm doing. You kind of have to squish it under there. And then just like 2 stitches or 3. That's it. You're just doing on that seam, and do it on all 4. And then cut off all the extra threads and you are done. There's your fleece beanie.